Keeping score. Right, so in the last video we added sound effects. So we were going along and we were collecting these kind of triangular coin things. They were disappearing and then we added sounds so they would make sound. Now, a couple of things I want to do before actually talking about keeping score, because the idea is when these disappear, I actually want something to appear on the screen, maybe some text to say how many we've collected or even how many more we've got to collect. So potentially we're collecting 100 of them, and it counts down 99, 98, 97, that type of thing, but we'll get there in a second. But before we do, I just want to organize things a little bit better. So there's my back-in track. I'm actually just going to untick it a moment, so that basically mutes it, so it won't play when I actually play the game, or that in theory that's what should happen. I've also got these other bits of soundtracks as well, which are kind of right there in the middle of the screen. So this is my collect sound. I'm just going to drag it up there out of the way, and probably do the same for my jump sound as well. It's just so you can grab them one by one easily if they are more organized like that. Now, the other thing I want to sort out, my hierarchy is looking really kind of busy. I have to scroll up and down, which is getting a bit frustrating. So I've got all these coins. So what I'm going to do is create an empty. I'm going to call it coins. And all my coins then, which I'm going to highlight by clicking on the first and holding on shift and then the last one, I'm going to drag and drop them into coins so they're all tucked away nicely like that. So I don't have to scroll up and down to be able to see things. So I'll probably do the same for sound and all the ground when I get it all set up. Now then, in terms of the code we used previously to collect things so they disappeared and made a sound, we had this collecting script and it looks like this here. So there weren't many lines in it at all. And in respect of what we're going to do today, we're only literally adding these yellow areas to that code we've already got. So before we do though, we actually need to set up our text ready to go. So if I click on the plus sign and I go down to UI, and I'm going to go down to, even though you can maybe see text there, I'm actually going to go to legacy and click on text. And when that loads up, you're probably thinking, well, where is the text? I can see text legacy there. I'm going to call it score label because I actually want the word score to appear somewhere. And you can see on the right hand side, it's actually here. And you're probably thinking, well, where is it? I'm actually going to type score there as well. Still nothing on screen. But the truth is, if I double click on the canvas, it zooms right the way out, and down in the bottom left-hand corner is our game, which is a bit bonkers. So if I double-click on it, it'll zoom back in and zoom back out. But if I actually click on game, it actually shows us the score down in the bottom left-hand corner. So into respect of like this scene setup, it's just trying to keep it a bit organized, so you're not overlapping things and clicking on things by accident. Well, I think that's why they're doing it anyway. So we are probably going to look at the game side of things in order to see how it looks on the screen. So my score, I could keep it underneath, but actually I'm going to put it up in the top right hand corner. So let's go back onto scene. On their score there is really difficult to see probably for yourselves. My text, as I said, is called score. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to make it so it is a bigger font size. So I'm going to scroll across. And before I do, actually, forget about that. I'm actually going to change the color of it. So where's the color? Ah, there's the color. So I'm going to change the color for the time being so it is white, so top left hand corner. Hexadecimal for that is three, or what's that, five, six Fs. And that'll become clear at some point why I'm saying it now. And if I make the font size a little bit bigger, you can see it there on the screen, but it disappears. And the reason why it disappears is because it doesn't fit into that text box anymore. But if we change these two here so they both overflow, like so. Now, it doesn't matter how big I make the font, it will always kind of show it on screen. And I'm going to move that up into the top right-hand corner. Let's have a look at what it looks like in game. It's a bit big, so I'm just going to resize it slightly, like so. Game. Yeah, we'll keep it at that for the time being. It's not, you can actually adjust that as you're going along. So if I move that up into the top right-hand corner. Now, font style-wise, if I have a look at the font size styles they've got, it's limited to just that font there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to do something a bit different in terms of maybe bringing in your own font style, and I've got one on my desktop ready to go, I'm going to import the font style in, and it's called, I haven't tested this one yet to see what it looks like, Sacco de Pau. And if I then go back to my font, so if I click on the score label there, and I go back to this area here, then you can see it's actually recognized this. So if I click on it and I go back to my game, then yes, it's the wrong way around. What's that about? Maybe it's because there's a capital S on it. So I'll change it so it's a lowercase s here. That's what I'm looking for. Let's change that. Yeah, and that looks a bit more like what I was looking for. So there's my score, and that plays along. And whilst I'm playing the game, it'll say the word score up in the top right-hand corner. However, I actually want a number underneath this. So it starts off as 0, and every time I collect one of these yellow triangles, then I will increment by 1. And it'll go up every time well, that basically means I'll go up every time I collect something. So what I'm actually going to do is copy and paste that. I'm just going to move it down slightly. I'm actually going to right-align this one because I want it to start actually. Let me resize that actually. Zoom in a little bit on it. So score label 1. And I'm going to do it so it's like so. On the text, it doesn't actually need to have anything in there, but for the time being, I'm just going to put a 0 so I can see what it looks like on screen. So that's what it looks like that. That's fine actually. And let's click on game to see what that looks like. Maybe could drop a little bit more, but that's fine for the time being. Right, and this is called score label 1, but in fact, I don't want to call it score label 1. I don't know why I just double clicked on it because I've already got it highlighted. I'm actually going to call this score text because this is the score which is going to update on screen as we're going along. Right then, code-wise, if like I said, back on our code as it is, that's how it currently looks. We've just got to add a couple of things into it. So if I highlight this and I pop it at the top there, and this is used for anything which is related to text on screen. So that's something which will need to be there. If that's not there, it doesn't matter what I add down here, it won't actually work. It'll give us loads of error messages. We're also going to add in this variable to kind of identify. Oh, and this bit. Oh, I've already got the score 0, haven't I? Just take that there. Have I got score 0? No, I haven't actually. So that should be highlighted yellow as well. Let's take. In fact, I'll take all of this because that's being stupid. And I'll explain it once it's in. And that's going to go in this spot here. And in fact, I pasted that slightly in the wrong place. I could drop that back where it was. So basically, we're going to have an integer, which is score, which is set to 0. And we're also recognizing the fact there's a text box, which we're going to be updating. And this part here is basically to say, when the game starts up, the text box is going to be set to whatever the score is. So it'll be set to 0. So like I said earlier, we don't actually need to have anything typed into the score at all. So let's go back on to score text. And I'm going to take that off. So it looks like there's nothing there, but trust me, it will work. Now, and the other thing we need to add in is just these couple of lines down here. So when each of the items gets collected, gets destroyed, and a sound gets made, then the score is going to go up by 100 in this case, but actually I only want to go up by 1, every one I collect. And it's going to update the score text box to say what the new score is. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back onto here and I'm going to press play, and I know it's going to not work, but I just want to kind of show you what happens when you just press play straight away. It's going to have score up in the top right hand corner like we're expecting. You can see down here there's a red error message, and we can't actually see anything there at all. So the reason why that's happening is that if I go back down to my main scene by double clicking on the main camera, I think the collecting side of things, it's on my player. You can see that the score set to 0, but it doesn't know what text box I'm referring to because that was one of the variables I set up. So all I got to do is grab my score text, that's the one which says 0 on it, or did say 0 on it, and drag it into there. And this time, when I press play, we shouldn't have a red error message at the bottom, and our score, look, increments by 1 every time we collect something. Now, if you wanted to do the other way, like I mentioned earlier, where you start off at a certain score, so maybe start off at 100, and then you take away 1 every time you collect something, you would just simply need to type in 100 there. Instead of +1, it's -1. And that's basically how you get to keep score. Now, in our next video, we're probably going to have to do something about dying, aren't we? Because, and I'm probably going to build up my level a bit bigger than it currently is, because it's only kind of gets to the end of this bit here and falls down. But we're actually going to start looking at what happens if I fall off platforms and lives get lost and so on. Hi, Future Rob here. Just something to add to what past Rob has already told you about keeping score. Within the script you just did for collecting, you had a public int score which started off at 0, and every time you collected a coin, the coin disappeared, a sound played, and the score went up by one. And that kind of changed on the screen so you could see what the score was. Now, the issue is, if you've got other ways to score, for example, like killing enemies or completing a level, something like that, it gets a little bit kind of tricky to refer to this score, which is within this collecting script. But by putting this word static in front of int score, like I've done here, that basically means now that that score, that variable, is available to be accessed in other scripts. So, for example, if I had a script where I jumped on an enemy to kill it and it gave me 2 points, I would refer to it within that script as instead of doing score equals score plus one, it would actually say collecting dot score equals collecting dot score plus one. And that's basically referring to the score variable, which is within our collecting script here. So it's just something to keep in mind and probably similar when it comes to kind of doing lives and maybe things like checking high scores, that type of stuff.